Our next speaker is Elena Bulaha Madunic. She is an artist and storyteller of Adventures from the Future inspired by Tesla. Oh, there she is. Hi.
Hello, everybody. One more time. For me, it really feels like a time travel. When I was first time in this hotel, 2005, what was it, like 14 years ago, when I started my life coded by Tesla, that I can say now. At that time, I didn't know. I'm a filmmaker, cross-media director, and art director. So that was one idea. I had a team here that I worked on some previous projects in New York, and we thought what's the next stop it could be. And I said, do you know who is Tesla? And I said, no. And I said, wow, impossible. And I said to a couple of my friends here in New York the book, and we started reading together the biography, and on 2005, we got a first scholarship to start research on Tesla. And I came here, I visited the room and everything, the plaque was there, but the room wasn't even with any sign that Tesla was living in that room. And we started to work, we were working, and since then I traveled almost the whole world, did so many projects with so many people, so many different artworks, thinkings, conferences, and it culminated around 2015 when I got invited, upon this work I did so far, I was invited to envision something new. So I'm going to show you now a little teaser. It was one of the biggest exhibitions, the most complex exhibition I've ever done in Croatia. Croatia is a really, really small country. And in Croatia, for a long time, I was the only one. Don't get me wrong, it's not pretentious, and I still is now with my crew that I bring into my project that is joined now, that was really taking care of promoting Tesla. I was always connected. I was also connected with Mr. Vujovic, and now I'm really thankful to Mr. Nikola to invite me here. So I was always connected with my Serbian colleagues, and I even co-producing one project I show you later with the Serbian director. But in Croatia, it was always difficult. And you will see now what I managed to do with my Croatian producer in Croatia. We are really, really proud of what we did. And one of the reasons why I'm here, it's invitation for this conference, but it's also beautiful thing that probably next year at this time we will have the big exhibition happening in New York. I can't really say right now at which place because we are in the process of signing the contract with one really amazing institution of New York, very important. We're going to occupy about 1,000 square meters with a beautiful story about Tesla as an influencer. We can call him influencer. He was influencer 100 years ago into the life for the nearest future.
Želim da se svi ljudi mogu poistovjetiti s Teslom, zato što genij nije rezultat, genij je proces.
Prenosio neke poruke koje mi sad vjerojatno tek sad možemo možda percipirati.
Ogroman zalogaj, bili smo svjesni da niko nikad nije uspio napraviti tako nešto.
Jer ništa nije nemoguće, Tesla je dokaz toga.
I time nam je doista svima može biti jedna velika inspiracija.
I to je nešto što je fantastično.
Znači bez njega svijet ne bi bio isti.
Jer je to ona osoba koja je uspjela i svoju duhovnost prožiti sa svojim znanstvenim radom.
Čovjek mora uzeti vrijeme da bi naučio nove stvari.
Da nema Tesle, mi bi ovdje bili u mraku.
Tesla je bio kreativac koji je u život proveo zamisao da je svijet zanimljiv onoliko koliko smo mi znatiželjni. I proglašavam izložbu Nikola Tesla, Mind from the Future, otvorenom.
Thank you. So in New York, we really hope it's going to happen. It's a big project. We're going to join forces with the Tesla Science Foundations, with the Wardenclyffe Foundations. Follow us. If you want to know more about the exhibition, outside is the big, thick catalog. I think I brought more than 100 artists with my projects over the years that I'm going to show you how my life revealed to be coded by Tesla. And in Croatia and in region, we took, I think, more than 100 more to collaborate with us. So I'm really, really proud that we're bringing unification of our people, what Tesla really wanted us to be. But I wanted to speak about something else here, because you're going to see it next year in New York, what is this story all about. What was for me very shocking was when the first working title of exhibition appeared, like, how are we going to call the exhibition? Nikola Tesla, Mind from the Future. Yes, but it's not translatable. I said, no, it has to be exactly like that. I was shocked, but I didn't really talk to my producer why. Most of you probably know why Tesla is really Mind from the Future. It's not just a metaphor, it's not just it's a nice sentence for something what he really are. He's a human, but amplified human, superhuman, who knows how to use all abilities of his machine, of his body. And he was talking a lot about that. And me as an artist, I didn't went into researching Tesla because of the electronics and Tesla coils. I like them sparkling around, of course, but I have to admit, I don't understand that. I like it on a level of beautiful sparks and imaginary that it creates. But I was always amazed with Tesla about his strong will, his will to do things that he really understood. Only he understood those things in this world. And he didn't really need anyone to approve the truth of those things. Brought us here to live in this, we can say, in Tesla dream, but not really. We live in something which is more like a Tesla nightmare. We heard a lot of lectures on that topic today, so we have to be honest. We live in a time that Tesla didn't envision, but those times came here using all of Tesla technologies. So I'm really glad to be part of the stream to make a change, to use that technology in a proper way. And it's not just about the coils, just about technology. So I'm going to try to show you a little bit my path. Maybe my presentation will be a little bit longer because I squeezed my last session in this session, so not to repeat myself. So start reading Tesla technical books was for me out. I put it down. I start reading other books, especially the authorized autobiography by John O'Neill and his autobiography, which is complete hermeneutic text. It's nothing about autobiographical details. It's something, he wrote that like a Christian mystic. So Tesla was a kind of a mystic. And that was the reason why, what I think. So I'm not a scientist, I'm an artist and storyteller. So everything what I say here is a story. What is true, what is not, I don't care, because story is what creates life. So I take the facts and I build the stories. So don't bound me, it's not true, it's not happened, just follow the story. And if you find that something resonates, you can go and research and you can go further. So from my research of 15 years, I'm completely sure that Tesla did the decision not to be a priest because he understood if he ends up as a priest, he will not be able to reach scientific things that he reached out to bring machinery to approve what religion, what spirituality was telling us. And for him, at this moment, at that time, it wasn't really easy decision because on a way he needed to inherit that family lineup of the priests in his family. And we all know his older brother died, so he was the only one. So that was probably why it was very, very difficult for him. But he pointed also out one thing always in his life, and that was art, art, art. He was always telling that reading the books was the most important thing for him. That without the books of Mark Twain, he will never get out of the sickness that could put him to be dead, and he will never even envision the big things. So we all know this is a Smiljan. This is really in the middle of nowhere, even today. This is really a small, tiny village, and the church and the house are under this hill, and it almost looks like this today. It's a little bit renovated, but it's really one place where you come. It's geographically very interesting because it's a big round like arena of the top hills, and the acoustic in the winter when snow falls down is amazingly strange. It's silent but not. And just next to his house was a little hill where today and that days people always were coming to see the lightnings. The lightning was the strongest. There is also one thing very interesting about the place where Tesla was born. It's a Dinarid complex of the mountains. It's a mountain Velebit, and it's completely hollow down there. It's in last 10 years they found under this area where he lived, and not just he lived in Smiljan, then in Gospic. He was spending a lot of time in Tomingai, in his mother village. They find the whole cave system of about 50-60 cave rooms entered by the big cave Samograd, which means self-built city, which is really huge cathedral entrance to the underworld. So for the storyteller, there is no better material than that. Then a couple of miles from there, there is complete underground, you probably heard for the lake Splitvice and famous waterfalls in Croatia. They found completely mirroring thing underground. And from Tesla autobiography that I said it's a sort of, I took it as a hermeneutic Christian mystic text, not literally, but in the storyline. For me, there was one passage in this autobiography that he said that he was roaming for 9 months around the mountains, and he was reading the Mark Twain books, and that saved him his life at one moment when he was wandering the caves, and he was lost in one of the caves. And in Mark Twain books, he could find how to get out of the caves because kids were getting lost in the caves. So you need to be like Tesla in a way, to love the same playfulness of life, to come up to those things. Is it true or not? But for me, that was great. So doing the research, I came up to Karlovac. For me, the Karlovac was interesting. Karlovac never was really pointed out as an important point in Tesla life. But Tesla, at the second grade of his high school, he actually escaped. He ran away from home to go to Karlovac because Karlovac got, at that time, the best gymnasium that was equipped with the best natural history laboratory with equipment to research and demonstrate electricity and scientific research about electricity at that time. And he heard about that and he ran away. He lived with his uncle. He was complaining that they didn't give him enough to eat, that he was very hungry, but he figured out much more things about electricity. He had there actually a teacher that really was the first person that Tesla could speak with him on a way to build his strength, not to give up. What I wanted to say with this, you all know that, but I think that's important to speak about Tesla. And Tesla was also telling that he was an instrument of bigger things. His brain was really a receiver. It wasn't a metaphor. And he felt that, and he knew that, and he was finding the places and people and objects and human creations that will trigger that part. And everything was great in Karlovac, and one day he saw this image. When I came to Karlovac 3 years ago to see for the exhibition, to take the stuff, I saw all this laboratory stuff, and I pick up the things, and I saw something under the shelf, dusty. And I was pulling out, like, what's this? Oh, it's old, we didn't restore it yet, it's some Niagara painting. And I was taking it like, I don't know, like a holy grail, because I knew that's the Niagara painting that Tesla saw that inspired him. You know this famous sentence, like when he read and saw the Niagara, descriptions of Niagara Falls, he come to his uncle and said, one day I'm gonna go to America and I'm gonna harness this force of nature. You know, so he was like 16 at that time, and he saw this image that triggered his mind, because he was one artist, but he was also one scientist, and he knew that it's more important is to give the scientific talents to the world than artistic. And one thing that was constraining him was that he didn't know how to draw. And at that time, if you didn't know how to draw, you couldn't consider yourself to be an artist. But his visual taste was, for me as an artist, I can say that Tesla is the best. He even went with white gloves to machinery. And this tells a lot about what one artist should be, what kind of respect one artist should to have to this tremendous talent within itself. So this is a thing that changed the world. That was under the shell in Karlovac before we pull it out. So what Tesla did, I'm not going to tell you about Tesla, everything, but how he harnessed the Niagara Falls, creating the first device art. That's the Columbus Egg device. That's the first device art where he used illusionistic performance combined with electric art story object. He was telling the story about how America was discovered. He was really kind of arrogant at that moment. He was asking for the money, but telling that he can do things better than Columbo did for Americans. So he was really kind of, he wasn't going to the sponsors and asking for money, please give me money, I have a great project. No, I'm the best, you're gonna give me the money because I can put the egg at the top with my magnet. And he got lucky that somebody from Westinghouse Cruise saw it, brought the Westinghouse, and we know what happened. So here it is. Tesla discovered neon, not discovered, he shaped the light into the neon tubes so that we can create artificial, beautiful lighting spaces. Why? It's nothing practical. When people speak about Tesla, when they want to say, yeah, Tesla, la, 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 he wasn't a practical guy. But is it life about practical things? Are we born to be practical? Or are we born to enjoy this life? I think that was difficult to imagine at that time, but today it's obvious what life is for. Life is one experience to learn, to enjoy, and not through selfish way of living, but to follow this kind of path. And Tesla wanted to give us technology exactly to enable us to be the artist of life. And slowly, doing the research, I was realizing that, and I was like, wow, I have a Tesla code. My life gonna be like Tesla would like it to be. I'm just gonna be the artist of my life, and no one gonna stop me. I'm just gonna do what I think it's appropriate and how things should be done. Okay, I was laughing, but as it happened to Tesla, that those guys came to Columbia exhibition, and this guy in the middle, Kelvin, when he saw what Tesla did, he says, please move Edison from my side. I'm gonna do the work with Tesla. He knows how to do the things. So, okay, when you like Tesla, when you really believe in yourself that your life is worth every positive and creative effort, one day those guys will come to you and will ask you, what kind of energy you're using to perpetuate that life? Give us a little bit. That was the story about the financial things. I'm not gonna go into that, but I think I'm gonna join the research because I found some things. I would say just one sentence that amazed me as an artist, because, you know, artists always struggle. It's impossible to be millionaire like artist except if you are Marina Abramovic. No, it's not, but you know, out of trillions, 10 succeed. It's not like in a business. But if you are an artist, you don't think in that kind of terms. It's impossible for you. For one artist, it's always important to have everything what artist needs. Same was for Tesla. Tesla just needed to have everything what he needs at that moment. And if you think about his life, he really lived that life. He really always had what he needed to make things that were possible. There are different theories about Wardenclyffe, etc. But my opinion about Wardenclyffe is that at one point he concluded that he really can't communicate that idea on a higher level, that he don't have a communicator that can join the idea to develop the project. That's why he, on a way, drop off to look for the more money. Because what he will do with the more money? Buy a big house. What he will do with the big house? Take care of the big house. He wasn't that kind of a guy. Living in a hotel was perfect for him. So, you know, he did it. He made Niagara Fall. And actually what he did, he gave power to the people. And that's the biggest legacy that Tesla gave us. That's the freedom that Tesla gave us, that we can be awake 24 hours a day and do whatever we want. So we can really choose now. We are not the slaves, energy slaves. And especially when I realized that at the opening of Niagara, when he was supposed to give a speech, he didn't speak about electricity, but he was speaking, you can see it shortly here, about art. I was sure that my Tesla code gonna work. So, okay, how it's gonna work? You need to learn, you need to search, you need to understand things, you need a lot of things to happen. And in this my research, I find this other guy, Mr. Gurdjieff. I don't know if you heard about him, and I thought they are a perfect match. For me, Gurdjieff and Tesla works perfectly. What Tesla showed through machinery, through science. Gurdjieff was talking through esoteric stuff. And I'm an artist in the middle. I can understand the both through my experience. So I will really recommend you to go into Gurdjieff researches, because he talks a lot about the human as a machine, as a cosmic machine, etc. And maybe you find the same connection. For me, it was really, really nice, because it took me to another story places. And we know all that Tesla stopped working about his 40s. So that's the best years in life you have, it's your 40s. And Van de Cliff was gone. He realized that he can't go much further. And it's a big question what he was doing these 40 years of his life. This is what you see now here. It's one of the most beautiful hydro power stations at Niagara, built around 30s at the time of Art Deco. And this is the angel of electricity. So what Tesla did? Tesla came from the Europe that was just starting the Art Nouveau. And we know that he was writing. He was so amazed with Budapest, with Prague, with Paris. He loved that art, that flourishing transformation of nature into artistic patterns so much that when he came to America, that was completely opposite to that. I think at the back of his head, he decided, I'm going to make it beautiful as Europe. And basically, I will just say shortly, this is for me, when I saw this for me was approval that Tesla is the father of Art Deco. And I will tell you just one little detail. When I start doing the research about Tesla, I was lucky to meet with one artist, Paula Foley, who met Tesla as a little boy. And he told me how he met him, because his grandfather was a decorator on Chrysler, and Tesla was his friend. And these 40 years, Tesla was hanging around with those kind of people and was really enjoying the artistic boom of the city. You know, he was the member of the Players Club. Stanford White was his friend, Sarah Bernard, Mark Twain was his brother, basically. So I think that these 40 years, Tesla do struggle. He wanted to push ideas. Of course, he didn't give up. But imagine walking the New York that's growing on your technology, that's building the promising future that both worlds collapsed. But there was a spark. Art Deco was that spark. And I think it's worth to go for it into the future. And this is what we want to do with this exhibition and this travel and this whole unification on many disciplines and many levels. So you see, this is just a beautiful New York. That's probably the best part of New York. But there was still something in my mind. I was thinking how he could know all of that, how he could know that I will stay here and talk about this now and blah, blah. So these are two books that really changed his life. The first one, Coming Race, you probably know, it's about the underworld city, about the real energy, beautiful places, blah, blah. And the other is The Faust that was absolute inspiration for Tesla. I was scared to read The Coming Race, and when I was designing the exhibition, at one point I said, no, it's time to read. I have to read it. When I start to read the book, the places, the rooms in the book, in this beautiful underworld, were looking exactly as my design. Then I closed the book. I said, okay, that's it. We got it. And this is a book that Tesla read when he was 16 years old back in Karlovac, because it was published at that time. And he went to Velebit to roam around the caves. What he found there, I have no idea. I'm scared of the caves, you can't believe. I went to the Samograd, I didn't went deeper, but there is 100 stairs made by hands. It's obvious that it's made by people, but the part of the cave is collapsed and you can't progress down there. And nobody knows when those stairs are built, why, etc. So basically, for me, all of these things are approval, and all the designs that he was doing is that Tesla really, really want to bring the artist at the top of the world, at the top of the throne. And so I said, okay, let's see, is it really true? And then I went around the world, and I figured out that even though Tesla was forgotten from the history books, from scientific books, from the mainstream researchers, there was a plenty of very popular artists, classics in every art, like Laurie Anderson, like Terry Gilliam, like Marina Abramovic, like Christopher Priest, like my friends who are with me here, puppeteers, Flexitum puppeteers. And one amazing scientist, Hiroshi Matsumoto from Japan, who are mind-blown by Tesla and who actually formulate whole their lives around the similar philosophy that Tesla was proclaiming. And then I was, how to say, I was really sure that that's the way to go, that that's the life we have to build on. Even it's not important to speak too loudly about that life, but it's important to keep it consistent. And this is a moment, this photograph is took when we were exchanging the business card, you know, Japanese business cards. He gave me first the regular one, and at that time I was producing some cartoons, and I have just cartoony one, and I was embarrassing giving him cartoony business card, and he took his official business card out of me, and he gave me his cartoony business card. And this was in Kyoto University. Hiroshi Matsumoto is one of the top 10 scientists that research the harnessing of the sun energy from space. So he invited us to come to Kyoto, to university, to show us a 2008 technology that already was developed with the solar panels in the space, that with one range of that panels you can have power the 2/3 of the Earth. But politics and everything didn't allow that. But we saw the motorways powered by that electricity, the models, all the research laboratory. And that was for me, how to say, it was amazing. But at the same time, I realized that this world is deeply wrong. There is something deeply wrong, because if that thing in the Kyoto University developed and nobody using it, then the evil ruled this world. Let's say it that way. But it's maybe it's funny. Most of us knows that. We know where we live. We are quite aware of that. But that awareness, that's really, really important things. And it's not easy to get that awareness. At that time, I was aware of that thing at one level. But that intrigued me to research that's deeper. And that brought me to variety of phases. I showed just a couple of pictures of my life. And after a couple of years, I was really grateful for the whole experience that I was put with this, visiting the Kyoto University. And I went back to art, and I wanted to research more and more and more. And I said, okay, let's check it out. Is there anything at New Zealand about Tesla? And guess what? There is the biggest Tesla coil in the world exactly on New Zealand. This is it. This is built by one sculptor and one engineer from States, brought down to New Zealand to one private sculpture park by Alan Gibbs, one New Zealand millionaire. It was cost him, I think, $5 million, I don't know. He's an engineer who wants to push the borders and help artists to achieve the maximum in arts and technology. So this is really just a Tesla coil for the show. And this bulb at the top is a Faraday cage. Anyone who wants can climb at the top and sit there and enjoy the light. You can see here, but on the other side, the trees are burned. so it looks small on the picture, but it's the biggest bay on the southern hemisphere. So he put the coil in a quite isolated place, and it's really, so that's a sculpture. So at the end of the day, the Tesla coil end up as the biggest Tesla coil, which is a sculpture, not functional element. So that's an absolute approval that life is not about functional things, that life is about enjoyment and beauty. Of course, photographs wanted to came, and this is really beautiful photography of the coil. I think it's worth to make that coil just for this photography, isn't it? It's so beautiful. That's electricity. So at that point, I realized that I'm living in a completely surreal world. You know, it was, I think, 5 years at that time that I was living and working on Tesla. And I realized that there must be something more in that. So I said, okay, you have to get serious now. It's not a play. You have to really do the job. But jobs didn't happening. Things were progressing in the playfulness of life. So this is us filming. So we start to filming our stories from the collecting inspiration. We start to build our inspiration. So these are some frames at the Montauk Beach with my colleague. I think she's still here. So this is some research. Me on Coney Island. This is the frames from one movie that we envisioned to make, which is called Mechanical Figures, inspired by Tesla, where we start to go on a search for Tesla all around the places. So this is in Japan. That was really interesting. And what was really great about every Tesla project I did through my production companies, you know, you need to apply for funding, you need to find the sponsors, and you come up with this story. You know, I'm going to go to Japan, I'm going to sit on Shibuya for 2 hours because I have to. Why? Because I'm doing the research about Tesla, and I'm really curious to feel how Japan feels. Okay, let's go. This is one artist from New Zealand who also thought that he has to do the neon art, and in New Zealand is great. You can find the pattern easily if you are a really good artist. So he really enjoying his time. So also we came to New York. And this film started to get shaped, and on 2014, it happened that in Madrid, believe it or not, in Madrid, these two people at the side, Maria and Miguel, two curators from Madrid, they did the first big biographical exhibition about Tesla in Madrid in Telefonica. And they invited 3 of us, me, Branislav, and Robert, with our films that we were collecting and doing through the years to present it on the exhibition. And then we met all together, and then our collaboration blew up in many things. But what Maria and Miguel did since 2014, the exhibition that they envisioned, still touring the Latin America, and I think now they're counting more than 3 million visitors. So I think next year you should consider them to come. And at this meeting, I met this guy far on the left, Branislav Brkic, who was coming with one 3D animated movie and with a script, and I'm really not a fan of the 3D animation, but what he did is amazing, and I show you later. So at this meeting, I became his producer to help him to develop a beautiful 3D animated film that we hope may go into production next year. So this is when we make a little exhibition and presentation of our stuff. Kids, adults, everybody comes and enjoy and love. And this is this production of this movie. I'm just showing you that it is a real life. It is a real producer, art director life. But for my kids, it's difficult to understand that I'm working. And there is a good and bad side. Am I a good example? I'm asking myself, I need to struggle more. But on the other side, when you open a Tesla door, you struggle a lot, in the quote marks, because you realize one thing that is really cliche, but I'm going to tell it. You can't change the world. You only can try to change yourself. And that's a life task. So this is a crew. You see, those guys look much different than all the previous guys. And one day, those guys came to me, we want you to work with us to do a big Tesla show. And they helped me to envision what you see at the beginning and what we all now continuing to do through this life. And when they approached me, I said, okay, it's a big production. Every big production has a good and bad sides. Do I want to be part of it? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? If I can recreate Tesla's latest patent, if I can make an exhibition that's going to be invention, that's going to be like a film fresco, like something that Tesla was talking about, like a mind projector, then I'm going to join you. And I said, what? We just want exhibition about Tesla. I said, like, I'm not doing biographical exhibition. I'm not a curator. I'm an artist. And they really like, after a couple of brainstormings through a couple of months, they really, really like this playfulness that I brought to their offices. These are all people that we interviewed and talked with and met on this journey. I was presenting them these slides, you know, I said, like, you see, this is the alternating current principle. They were like, what? You know, this is the latest Tesla patent. Okay. This is like the Tesla boat. You know, I was like, and I said, if you think it's okay, we can progress with the exhibition. And after a while, they really get the vibe. They really understood what I'm talking about. And I said, okay, make a presentation, explain us what you're going to do, and we think we're going to join you on this journey. And they did. So these were slides presented for the big Tesla show. So what I wanted to say with this, it's like, there is a lot of agendas about Tesla. but there is one thing that we all feel it's important. It's important to find within Tesla your spark to free yourself from enslavement of life on Earth that we live in. What kind of enslavement is that? It's too complex. It's too much to talk about that, and it's not my way of doing things. But I can say from experience that art is really important, that we live in a time when artists and storytellers, we need them. They are so important because we need a new story for new life. And the big oppression is on artists. So Tesla is such a great example that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to give up. Means will come to you and you're gonna do your story because stories are needed. Without stories, humanity will disappear, and maybe pretty soon. And just slowly coming towards the end of my experience, what was really also amazing and what proves that the artists are very important, it's like, you all know this portrait. This is the first portrait painted under the electric light, and this is the only one portrait painted of Tesla that he happily allowed this young lady, Princess Wilma, to do that. She was, it's a little bit known, it's always pointed this relation about Tesla and Catherine. But Tesla was actually, I think, in some kind of love relation with Wilma. And I will tell you now why I think that. Wilma was a female character like Tesla. She lived in Plaza while Tesla was living in Astoria. In Plaza, she got the whole floor and the separate elevator because she has pets like a crocodile in a bat tube. She had a little bear. She had chickens and cats and zebra. So